Hey, what's up, guys? Pete Alonso here from the New York Mets, and I'm here with Alfred. And I just want to say thank you so much to all you guys for listening to the Metropolitan Report. It's a really awesome show. You got some great insight on Mets baseball, and yeah, it's a great place where Mets baseball is talked about, and we got a lot of really fun stuff coming up this year. And a lot of really great things coming from this team in the clubhouse, and I'm really excited to keep the ball rolling. And it's been such a fun season, and I'm really thankful for everybody coming out to the ballpark and supporting us, and it's just been absolutely tremendous. So thank everybody for listening to the Metropolitan Report, and Alfred, keep doing your thing, and as always, LFGM.
Hey, everybody, it's Alfred Parsar Jr. back with another Metropolitan Report. And before we begin this edition of the Metropolitan Report, I just want to remind everybody if you like this podcast, if you like this content on this channel, go down below, right there, and hit that subscribe button. That way, every time we drop a new video, make a new post, a new episode of the podcast comes out, you'll be one of the first ones to know. So leave a comment if you agree or disagree with anything that I say or may not say, or anything that I may skip over that you want to talk about. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. And more importantly, if you like this podcast and you know other Met fans that like Met podcasts, or baseball fans who like baseball podcasts, or just people who like talk in general, share the pod. Greatly appreciate it. So, first, on this edition of the Metropolitan Report, it is some sad times recently to be a Mets fan. This is a late night edition of the Metropolitan Report. By the way, as we are recording, it is 10:45 p.m. on Tuesday, May the 20th. The Mets, as of tonight, going into tomorrow, Wednesday, May 21st, are not in first place. The Mets are 29-20, one game behind the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets, who started this season hot, are now, I don't even want to say lukewarm. They're just cold. The Mets, of course, and programming note, we were supposed to have an episode yesterday morning. I do apologize. Schedule conflicts caused it to be pushed back to tonight. But the Mets lost the Subway Series 2-1. The Yankees beat the Mets in a 3-game series in the Bronx in Yankee Stadium. They won on Friday 6-2, and they won on Sunday 8-2. And the Mets won on Saturday 3-2. The Mets are in the midst of a 3-game series against the Boston Red Sox. The Mets losers yesterday and today. The Mets losing by a score of 3-1 and losing by a score of 2-0 tonight. It's rough. I've said it many a times on this program throughout the last couple of months. The Mets' biggest strength has been pitching, but pitching alone cannot carry you. You want to go back to the last time the Mets had a win last week? No, not even last week. Yeah, last week Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Mets won 2-1, and since then, the Mets just can't score. Last week Wednesday, and we covered this on the last edition of the Metropolitan Report when the Mets played the Pirates, and we recapped that series before we started talking about the Subway Series. You look at this Mets ball club. Last Wednesday they played Pittsburgh. They lose 4-0, so they don't score a run. They lose on Friday to the Yankees. They only score 2 runs. They scored 3 runs on Saturday in a win because their pitching was able to keep the Yankees at bay. Only 2 runs in the loss Sunday, 1 run in the loss yesterday, and no runs in the loss today. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. So in the last 6 games, the Mets have scored a total of 8 runs. You're not going to win. You're not going to be a very successful team in Major League Baseball scoring 8 runs in 6 games. That's scary. That is scary low. Pitchers are going to give up runs. It's inevitable. The way that the Mets bullpen and the rotation were pitching, it it wasn't going to hold up. It wasn't going to be sustainable throughout the year. It just wasn't. If we're as great as the Mets pitching staff has been, both rotation and bullpen, regression is going to come at some point, and regression has come for the Mets' top three hitters. Juan Soto in a slump. More on that later. Pete Alonso has gone ice cold. I mean, I know polar bears are from Alaska, but come on now. And Francisco Lindor not hitting either. So those three were the three that were the most productive in the Mets lineup. As 4 through 9 were not. So it's not good. Something's got to give. This offense needs to wake up again. 8 runs in the last 6 games is just not going to cut it. The Mets have lost 5 of the last 6 after starting off the season so great. And again, the Subway Series was what it was. Um, the pitching faltered there, but the pitching's been good for the most part. You want to talk about this Red Sox series? Clay Holmes only gave up 2 runs. He pitched 6 innings and gave up 2 runs. That's a quality start. I mean, when you get a quality start from your starter, what more can you ask for? Clay Holmes went 6, gave up 2 runs, and again, pitchers are going to give up runs. It's inevitable. The greatest pitchers of all time have given up runs, from the Sandy Koufaxes to the Nolan Ryans to the Roger Clemenses. They all give up runs. It's no way to avoid it. You're not going to have guys go out there and pitch shutouts every inning. It's just unrealistic. Well, every game, I should say, is unrealistic. Again, when when you have when you have a pitching staff that can only surrender 2 runs a game and still can't put anything on the board, it's terrible. And then the Red Sox yesterday, the Mets offense just wasn't up to it. Red Sox score 3, the Mets can't keep pace. Granted, the Yankees are an explosive offense. You expect them to hit knowing who they are. But this Red Sox team, not a high octane offense, and the Mets right now are outscored in this series 5-1. The rubber game, well, not even the rubber game, because the Red Sox have won the series already, but the finale tomorrow at 6:45. And it doesn't get any easier from here, because this weekend the Mets have the Dodgers for 3 at Citi Field. So, pending what happens these next couple of days and how the Phillies play, there might be a 4 or 5 game lead in the NL East, advantage Philadelphia. But again, this offense is no good, playing very poorly. And also, startling statistic, the Mets as a team have not had a home run since last week, Tuesday. That was a Brett Beatty home run. So no home runs in a week. So it's rough. Speaking of guys having it rough, having a rough go of it, Juan Soto. We got to talk about Juan Soto here. Juan Soto, Pacheco, as a lot of us like to call him. A lot of Met fans happy this guy signed $785 million for 15 years. And, Mets were looking for a superstar. They got one. And Juan Soto's had a rough, tumultuous last few days. The Subway Series, the classless Yankee fans, and we'll get to you guys in a second, just treated this guy horribly. Juan Soto runs into the outfield to warm up before the start of Friday's game. They boo him. They turn their backs to him. And I just don't get it. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this. Before I continue my Mets analysis, I'm going to give the Yankee fans love attention. I'm going to give you guys attention for a second. You see, you Yankee fans are classless morons. Why I say that? Just not even a year ago, just a few months ago in October, please sign Soto, doom, 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 please sign Soto, and chance of please re-sign, please re-sign. And even so, During some moments in Yankee Stadium, MVP, MVP. Didn't chant that at Judge. MVP, MVP. The man decides to leave, and now you want to say every nasty thing under the sun. Oh, he wasn't worth the money. He's not that good. My question to you Yankee fans is, let's say he took 785 in 15 years from the Yankees. Would he still not be worth the money? I have never seen a player play only one season for a team and leave and go somewhere else after that one season, and all of a sudden he's public enemy number one. You know how many Hall of Fame caliber players have walked through the hallowed halls of Yankee Stadium, whether it's the old one or the new one, and left and came back to fanfare? Why did Wade Boggs, who rode a horse around the outfield when you guys won in 1996, why was he not booed when he left the Yankees to go to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays? Huh? Roger Clemens, who was still under contract after 2003 and retired, thinking, and everybody was thinking he was just going to stay home the rest of his life or baseball life or whatever, and then comes out the following spring, comes out of retirement to sign with the Houston Astros. Yankee fans didn't hate Clemens. Granted, he came back to the Yankees years later, but you guys never hated him. And he left. But Juan Soto can play one season, leave, and now he's public enemy number one. It's giving scorned ex-girlfriend behavior. I've never seen people outside of ex-girlfriends who say, "Oh, please stay, please don't go. We want you here. We'll do whatever you want. We love you." And then when the person decides to leave, "Oh, you were never worth it. You're not as good as you think you are. We hate you." Because the man decided to leave? Juan Soto stated his reasons why he chose the Mets. He's publicly come out and said his mother didn't feel safe in the Bronx. The Mets have given her 24/7 security and tickets in the suite every home game. The man made a family decision. I've never seen a group of people so classless that they despise somebody for doing something that was better for their own personal situation. It's not like him leaving the Yankees personally hurt anybody. It didn't. How many times in sports do players leave? Jacob deGrom, one of the greatest pitchers I've ever seen pitch with my own two eyes, left the Mets in the beginning of 2023 and signed with the Texas Rangers. Do I hate Jacob deGrom? Absolutely not. Would I have liked him to stay? Yes. But he went, and I don't hate the man. I'm not wishing death on him. I'm not saying he was never worth the money. Like, what are we doing here? And furthermore, the way that Yankee fans talk down to and despise Met fans is ridiculous too, because Yankee fans, you all love to talk about 27 rings and you guys haven't won since 86 and blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm going to school you Yankee fans for a second because you brag about 27 rings. Granted, the Mets did not come into existence until 1962, right? So, how many rings out of the 27 did the Yankees win before the Mets were ever thought of or became a thing? Let's see. The Yankees won the World Series title in 23, 27, 28, 32, 36, 37, 38, 39, 41, 43, 47, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 56, 58, and 61. 19 of those 27 championships were before anybody even had a thought about the New York Mets. Since the Mets have been in existence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 championships. Now, prior to the Mets becoming a major league expansion team, let's put things into perspective here. I'll put it to you like this, and I usually don't like to insert race into any type of argument, but we have to do it here. The Yankees, for their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, their first 10 championships, right, came before baseball was integrated racially. For those of you who are not intelligent enough to understand what that means that they did not play against any Hispanic or African American players. Major League Baseball's color barrier was not broken by Jackie Robinson until 1947. Now, granted, those of you who are intelligent are going to say, well, they beat the Dodgers in 1947, and Jackie Robinson was on that team. Yeah, it was one black man on a team, the only black man in the league. One of only 2 black players in all of MLB that year, the other being Larry Doby in Cleveland. Okay? So, the first 10 championships, those Yankee teams couldn't even say that they beat the best players in all of baseball. They didn't go up against Cool Papa Bell. They didn't go up against Turkey Stearns. They didn't go up against Satchel Paige. They didn't go up against Rube Foster. They didn't go up against Josh Gibson. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You think if they would have played the Homestead Grays or the Kansas City Monarchs or the Pittsburgh Crawfords, they in some type of championship series, do you think that the Yankees would have won those series? I mean, granted, we can't sit here and say what if, but the fact of the matter is they did not play the best competition possible. And if you think I'm full of it, go look at all those names I just named and go look up who's in the Hall of Fame. Because a lot of those Negro League legends are indeed in the Hall of Fame. All right? That's number one. So those 10 Yankee teams, they didn't beat the best competition. No. They beat the grocery store clerk and the hardware store clerk and the plumber, who all just happened to play baseball during the baseball season. All right? That's number one. Number two, for a good majority of those championships, 19 of them, and you can even argue up until the ones they had in the 90s, there weren't that many teams. There are 32 teams in MLB now. Those first 10 rings, you know how many teams were in Major League Baseball at the time? 10. 10 teams. So out of 10 teams, somebody had to win. Out of 10 teams, the probability of you winning a World Series is far higher than trying to win one today. So when there's 10 teams in the league, obviously, when there's 10 teams in the league, and most of the star players of that era are not even in the league because society didn't allow black men and Spanish men to play in MLB at the time, of course you have a more successful chance to win. The Mets came into existence in 1962. And even when they came into MLB in 1962, the amount of teams that there are now still weren't back then. So I don't want to hear it. And then all these Yankee fans, they love to talk about 27 rings, but they couldn't even tell you who Thurman Munson was. They couldn't tell you who Willie Randolph was. They couldn't tell you about Bobby Meacham. Yeah, you don't know that name, right? Yeah. All they can tell you about is Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio. I guarantee you, for those of those fans who know who Goose Gossage is, don't even know that Goose Gossage's real first name is Rich. They couldn't tell you about Phil Niekro or Louisiana Lightning Ron Guidry, but they want to talk about 27 rings. Yeah, 27 rings, and you can't even name half of the people enshrined in Monument Park. But some fans, right? Listen, I can go on this rant because I've been a season ticket holder for the New York Mets since 2019. And I have attended the Subway Series in Citi Field every single year, minus the COVID year of 2020 because there were no fans in the seats. And I can't tell you the countless amount of Yankee fans. I'll be sitting there minding my own business. They want to come up to me because they see me in a Met jersey or a Met t-shirt with my Met hat on, and they want to talk all this trash. They love to start. They talk down on the Mets fans. 95% of the time, we're not even concerned with what the Yankees do. But during the Subway Series, we got to hear all of this. All the 27 rings, you haven't won since 86, and blah, 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 blah. I'm tired of it. The New York Yankees are a classy organization, or so they want you to believe. I'm not here to dispute or prove whether they're classy or not, but the fan base are a bunch of uneducated, obnoxious, braggadocious morons. Like I said, they love to talk about 27, and not all of them, because there are some good Yankee fans. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Pete Rosato. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Grizz. But shout out to my good friend QG. So not all of them are ignoramuses, but a good majority of them love to talk about 27 rings, but can't tell you the history of their team before Derek Jeter. Criticize Juan Soto and bash Juan Soto. Mind you, he was a one-year player. Only played there a year. But when Andy Pettitte left, there were no boos. Granted, he came back later on. Wade Boggs, he left. There were no boos. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I don't understand it. Are you really that classless? Are you that hurt because one player left to go somewhere else? But yet, and again, Yankee fans will never admit it, but we have the receipts. In October, with Juan Soto in right field, during the World Series, chance of re-sign Soto, and please re-sign. Throughout all of 2024, when Juan Soto would come to the plate, depending on what happened in the game, chance of MVP. Those Yankee fans, and you know it deep down inside, you wanted Juan Soto. And the minute the news broke that he signed with the Mets, it hurt you. And you know why it hurt you? Because Yankee fans are used to having their way. They are used to being chosen. And for the first time ever, and probably forever, you didn't get your way and you weren't chosen. And it hurt your pride as a fan base. And that's why you hate Juan Soto. And it's disgusting. You know how many great Mets left and I never hated them? Mike Piazza ended up going to the San Diego Padres after he left, and the Oakland A's after he left the Mets. Did I hate the man? No. Jose Reyes left the Mets. Granted, he came back later on to finish his career, but left the Mets, went to the Toronto Blue Jays. Did I hate the man? No. Darryl Strawberry left the Mets to go sign with his hometown Dodgers. Did we hate the man? No. Jacob deGrom, like I mentioned earlier, left us to go to Texas 2 years ago. Do I hate the man? Absolutely not. And they say, oh, he's not worth the money. You're judging a man 3 months into a 15-year contract. The Yankee fans are disgusting because they wanted Juan Soto to fail the moment he signed with the Mets. They didn't go, okay, Juan, have a good one. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. No. It was automatically, we hope you fail. And for those of you Yankee fans who said he's not worth the money, you're full of it. Because had you guys gave him the $785 for 15 years, none of you would say he's not worth the money. Disgusting. Listen, I usually don't like to go on rants like that, but any chance I have to defend any of our players in this organization, especially ones who do not deserve the criticism, I'm going to do it. And I'll do it every time gladly. But speaking of Juan Soto, there is criticism of Juan Soto that I must address. Juan Soto in the Subway Series Sunday night hits a ground ball. If he would have ran full speed out the box, he could have beat the throw from DJ LeMahieu, who had to do a diving stop to stop the ball. And then yesterday, Juan Soto hits a ball, stood there and admired it as he thought it was going over the Green Monster. But as we all know, the Green Monster in Fenway Park is known to rob folks of home runs, and he had to settle for a long single, which it should have been a double. Earlier in the game, Pete Alonso hit a ball off the Green Monster, and he was thrown out at second trying to get the double. I respect that. But Juan Soto said that he felt he was hustling. Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, said that he would address it. And here's my take. This is all I have to say. Juan Soto is a generational talent. He's in his prime, once in a lifetime player. And like I said, like I just said a moment ago, I will go down and die on the hill to defend any player who gets criticism that's unwarranted. But it's hard to defend a guy who does not hustle. We've seen players hit balls in the infield and they give it a full speed sprint and they actually are able to beat the throw, get an infield single, and then it starts a rally. Those are the type of players you need, not a guy who is going to admire a home run, then it clanks off the wall, and all of a sudden now you've got a single in what should have been a double. Now, like I said, Juan Soto's had a heck of a tumultuous week, but Pacheco, I believe and support in Pacheco. It's in Pacheco we trust. But Juan Soto, I'm gonna need you to put some hustle in it. Whatever's going on mentally, you got to block that out, and we need you to kick it in gear. Yes, every player is going to struggle now and then. Everybody goes cold now and then. But with all the criticism all over the media, Juan Soto was getting people saying it looks like he doesn't want to be there. It looks like he has buyer's remorse. Soto's just got to kick it in gear and just do the thing. Um, there's not much more I can say to that, but we just need better out of Pacheco. We need better out of Juan Soto. If we're going to defend Soto and we're going to embrace him as a Met, he's got to give us our best effort. And I just feel like with all the media circus and especially the ridicule he faced in his return to Yankee Stadium, I just don't understand how he's letting it get. Well, no, I understand it. He's letting it get to him, but I just don't understand how he could be so deflated at the moment. But he'll snap out of it. Um, you know, when it comes to sports, a lot of us forget that these players are human beings too, and just like us, regular people, they go through emotions. They have different thoughts in their head, things they're thinking, things they're feeling, and he's letting the emotion affect his game. But lo and behold, once this season is over and the Mets do make the postseason, and that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler. By the time this summer rolls around, Pacheco, I am so confident will be firing on all cylinders. But can we just calm down on the Soto criticism? Again, yes, I understand back-to-back games he's not hustling. I think he was shell shocked by his return to Yankee Stadium, which I don't even understand how Yankee fans are treating him so bad, because when the Mets returned to Washington a couple of months ago earlier this season, the team that drafted Soto, well, not drafted because he signed as an international free agent, but the team that brought Juan Soto to professional baseball and the team that he became a World Series hero with, they gave him a standing ovation. And he left them. He said he wasn't going to stay with them long term, and that's why they traded him to San Diego. So if anybody should be upset about him leaving, it's them, not the moron Yankee fans. But nonetheless, but yeah, let's cool off of the Juan Soto hate for now. I don't think he has buyer's remorse. He made his choice. He made a thoughtful decision that where thought was put into, no issues, and yeah, that's just about it. Moving on before we get to an interesting topic I want to bring up in the report. We have some Mets injury updates for you. We have three injury updates. Number one, right-handed pitcher Paul Blackburn, who was placed on the injured list on March 27th. He is expected to return later this month, which it's already the 20th, so sometime in the next week. Blackburn has made 5 minor league rehab starts and is scheduled for one more tomorrow as the Mets are trying to stretch him out to a full starter's workload. He could slot into the rotation when the Mets need a sixth starter in early June. Otherwise, he'll be bullpen depth. He does have a chance to come into the rotation given the struggles of Tylor Megill recently. Frankie Montas, also placed on the injured list on March 27th. He is expected back in mid-June. He has been facing hitters as he's recently begun a minor league rehab assignment, but he'll need to build up his pitch count before being activated as he missed all of spring training. And then Sean Manaea slotted to return in late June. He started throwing off of a mound on May 11th for the first time since spring training. He's going to require a lengthy minor league rehab assignment to build up his pitch count as well, as just like Montas, he too missed all of spring training. So good signs. Pitching help is coming for the Mets. Again, Manaea and Montas starters. Montas and Manaea both expected back in June, and Paul Blackburn expected back as soon as a week. So pitching relief is coming for this Mets team. Now, I know that this is a Mets podcast, but I want to talk about something that's bigger than just any team, bigger than the Mets, bigger than even MLB. A lot of people have been asking me what are my thoughts on this Pete Rose situation. And I gotta admit, for those of you who don't know, before I get into my little spiel here, Pete Rose in the 80s was found to have gambled when he was the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. It was found that he bet on his team to win. Now, it was proven he never bet against his team to lose, always bet on his team to win. Was caught for many decades, denied ever gambling, and then finally came clean around 2004. Was never reinstated to baseball. And of course, when you are banned for lifetime, you cannot get into the Hall of Fame. Why does that matter? Because Pete Rose, he is the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball. Pete Rose, one of the all-time greats. Some people say that his hits record will never be broken. He has a career batting average of 303, 4,256 hits, 1,314 runs batted in, and he wasn't shabby as a manager either. Lifetime managerial record of 412 and 373, good for a 52% win percentage. And three-time World Series champion, 75 and 76 with the Reds, 1980 with the Philadelphia Phillies, former World Series MVP, former National League MVP, a 17-time All-Star, a former Rookie of the Year, 2 Gold Gloves, a Silver Slugger Award, and he was the National League batting champion 3 times. And, you know, he bet on baseball. They told him to kick rocks, and now that he has passed away last September, Commissioner Rob Manfred reinstated Pete Rose, saying that now that he is deceased, he can no longer harm the game of baseball. What's also interesting is that Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Black Sox, those White Sox players who were found to have thrown the 1919 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for money from the Mafia, they've been reinstated too. Shoeless Joe Jackson was the only one who had some type of innocence in that whole thing. And yeah, and here's my take more so Pete Rose than Shoeless Joe. because they say that death ends lifetime bans. Shoeless Joe died in 1951. Why wasn't he made eligible sooner? I have no clue. But Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader, a record that'll never be broken. Now we get guys retiring. They're lucky enough to even have 2,000 hits, let alone be in the 3,000 club. And I don't think anybody's getting in the 4,000 club. If we want to look at the all-time hits leaders in MLB, I don't even think we'll find anybody close to Rose. Let's see. If we look at this, yeah, Pete Rose. There's only two men in all of baseball history that are in the 4,000 hit club. Pete Rose with 4,256 and Ty Cobb with 4,189. And nobody else is in that club. So, it's hard to sit there and want to put a man into the Hall of Fame or even have him considered for the Hall of Fame when he was punished for gambling. But then my issue is, yes, you punished him for gambling, but look at the hypocrisy of Major League Baseball. Now, I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport, but I got to call an ace, and I got to call a spade a spade. Major League Baseball punished Pete Rose for gambling. Granted, bet, all right, he broke the rules. It's in the rule book. You can't bet. But you punished a man for that. But every time we watch an MLB game on TV or we go to a game in person, DraftKings is here. You look, the Mets just played, the Mets are currently playing the Boston Red Sox. What logo is on the green monster? The logo for BetMGM, a sports book. One of the MLB TV partners is FanDuel Sports, a regional network that took over for Bally Sports. FanDuel Sports has affiliates in certain MLB markets that broadcast games. They broadcast the Minnesota Twins, the Cincinnati Reds, and so many others. How many times do you watch an MLB game and you see a commercial for DraftKings or for BetMGM or Bet360 or whatever sports book it is? How many times during the game do we see and the commentators go, and now here's a look at the live line, or here's the live money line. Here's a look at a same game parlay, $10 wins 39. Major League Baseball is in bed with all of these sports books. And yet, they maintained a punishment for a man who bet. Now, yes, I understand he bet on baseball. And he was a manager, so he had influence. Granted, he never bet on himself to lose, so he never tried anything to throw a game. If he's betting on himself to win, that means he has every incentive to try to win the game. But I get it. You're a manager, so that's a slippery slope because as a manager, you can influence the game. You have a certain insider information that may not be available to the general public to work in your favor. I get it. But we couldn't give the man a 20-year ban and then reevaluate. We couldn't give him a 30-year ban and reevaluate, or a 10 or a 15. It had to be life. Now, granted, there was no FanDuel or DraftKings back then, but it sets a bad precedent, and it's very hypocritical that Major League Baseball is in bed with sports books. Major League Baseball is business partners and advertising partners with sports books. Major League Baseball will encourage the fans at home and the fans in the stands to place bets. But we punished a man and would not include him in any sanctioned baseball activity because he bet. A couple of years ago, when the Philadelphia Phillies had their reunion at Citizens Bank Ballpark of the 1980 series, the 1980 World Series winning team, the Phillies had to get special permission from the commissioner of baseball's office to allow Pete Rose to be there, because when you're banned, you cannot show up to any MLB stadium and any sanctioned MLB event, complex, facility, whatever. They had to get special permission for Pete Rose to attend. And then the worst part is they denied him eligibility, and he went on a campaign. He begged. He had now he was banned by Commissioner Giamatti in the 80s. Since then, he tried to get in with Bud Selig, it didn't work. Tried to get in with Manfred, didn't work. And they all said because he had no remorse because he did signings at casinos. The man went to make an appearance to sign autographs for fans. Granted, the locations were in casinos, but it doesn't mean he was gambling. But the hypocrisy with baseball has to stop. How does a man who is arguably the greatest hitter of all time, he has a record that'll never be broken, and you didn't put him in the hall where he's alive? Now, granted, when this Veterans Committee meets in December of 2027, because that's the next time they'll meet, they'll induct Pete Rose. And my issue with that is this. Yes, you'll induct Pete Rose. You'll induct him. And then you'll put him in MLB The Show and Diamond Dynasty as a legend. You'll give him you'll give him special inserts in all the top sets, Topps Heritage, Series 1, 2, Update, Stadium Club, Bowman Baseball. I'm pretty sure you'll find a way to insert him in there. He'll get a bobblehead, replica jerseys. So now, a man who they wanted nothing to do with when he was alive, not only do you give him eligibility after he dies, and you treated him poorly in his lifetime, but now you're going to monetize his likeness and profit off of it. And he won't see any of it because he's dead. Like I said, I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. I played baseball and wanted to be a baseball player when I was a kid. But this is not the way to go. I would rather they never put him in than to do it like this. Again, why couldn't they just give the man 20 years and reevaluate? Why couldn't they give him 30 and reevaluate? But now you say it's okay for him to be eligible because he's deceased. And watch, they'll put him in the hall because you know why? The almighty dollar. That's why. And it's disgusting. All that memorabilia that's going to come out with Pete Rose's name, image, and likeness on it. But you wouldn't do it when he was alive. I've long said that although I love this great sport, it's the do-gooder sport. It's the goody two-shoes sport. Granted, you exercise bad judgment, and all of us have made a bad decision or two in our lives. But you exercise poor judgment once, and that's it. You're gone. They don't want nothing to do with you. Even if you redeem yourself, they don't care. But Pete Rose not being in the hall has long been a crime. And it's even more disgusting now that they want to put him in after he's no longer here. All the man wanted to do was just have his day in Cooperstown before he passed away, which he rightfully deserved. And they wouldn't even consider it until after he died. Do better, baseball. Do better. But folks, that's another edition of the Metropolitan Report. We'll be back. Now I know I said we'll be here yesterday. We have a late night Tuesday edition today. But we'll be back here on this channel on Friday morning. Again, we'll have content up until Friday morning dropping periodically on the channel. We'll have content throughout the weekend. The Mets are playing the Dodgers this weekend in Citi Field when they return home. And the only thing I have left to say before I log off here is let's go Mets, and I'll see you guys Friday morning.